10 years younger. Now, there's a lot of controversy behind those shows because I'm the creator of those shows, and I had a massive case, and that really was my awakening into the main stage that we're seeing now. They've been pushing social distancing in a huge way, but what people don't understand is the reason that they are socially distancing people is so that the cameras can actually be able to fix and build profile on everybody. And the reason why we are at such a critical time where we need everybody to be reporting this is because they are marching in using these draconian laws and measures to usher in what will be Nazi Germany, slavery 2.0.
It is bullshit.
Bullshit.
Okay?
Bullshit.
We've all seen it.
Listen to
We
me.
have all seen it.
This isn't going to get finished with you sat in this chair. You need to load up the plane.
You goofy
and
fucking
let's
cop.
continue with their
Beat it.
Excuse me. What is his name?
This is not my decision.
Everyone has seen it. No, your partner. Everyone has seen it.
There is a law.
Where were you riding a bicycle at this fucking
You
time?
don't be ignorant.
Goof.
Don't be ignorant.
On the last to your child when you were asked several times.
How do you know that you were here?
I got witnesses.
We all have seen it.
Listen to all the witnesses in the plane. Look at your own.
Greetings upon greetings.
Hi, everybody.
How come you look so far away from me? What did I do? Oh my gosh.
Is that better?
A little bit.
So, welcome everybody to another segment, episode Friday with my TCN TV network and our show, A Better Tomorrow. My name is Simone Jennifer Smith. I'm one of the hosts, and my co-host, of course, with the most, is the one Dave Rankin, who happens to be a teacher but doesn't use grammar in any of the things that he does. But we're not talking about that today. We're talking about some real messed up things that are happening. But before we do that, I definitely want to big up and support. Again, there are community members who are doing great things, and we support them. Let's just make sure we brand it. So I am a walking miracle, and this is with Miss Serena Thompson,
Yeah.
and she works with the EDGE program. So we've had her on before. This is when we were in our old studio. So back in the days we had her, but she definitely works with us in the community. We saw her this week and she was telling us about this, and we wanted to make sure that we put it out there. I'll turn around so you guys can see the hashtag. Can I see it?
Absolutely not.
Do I have to
Much
stand up?
better. No, stay right
Okay.
there. That's okay.
So what is the hashtag, Dave?
Sickle cell matters.
Sickle cell matters. Sickle cell matters, guys. It means something to me because sickle cell runs in my family, so I know how it has devastated members of my family as well. So sickle cell matters. Want to get that out there. Big up yourself, Serena. Keep doing your thing. I'm glad that we were able to support in some way, shape, or form. Okay, Dave. So that mess.
Yeah. Unreal, and I was telling you, when I first seen it.
Yeah, when you sent this to me, I was like, holy shit, holy.
It's okay. It's all right. You can go ahead and say that.
Oh my God, because this is someone that you and I have partnered with before. We traveled with someone about 3 years ago. We went to England together.
That's right.
To do some work with them in the Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
That's right.
For the peace conference. So when I heard this, I was like, no way. So let's talk about it a little bit.
Yeah. So WestJet says it canceled a flight from Calgary to Toronto early Tuesday when tensions on board rapidly escalated after a family refused to obey a rule that all passengers over the age of 2 wear masks. Now, I want to go ahead and actually, you've seen the wording of the article so far,
Of
right?
course.
So this is our good friend, Shafwan Chaudhry, right? He says that airline staff were trying to force his 19-month-old daughter to wear a mask, even though she isn't required to wear one at that age. but WestJet says that his older 3-year-old daughter, who was of concern. Chowdhury and his family complied with regulations. His younger daughter, was identified as an infant on her boarding pass, and his older daughter was wearing a mask. But WestJet said the accounts from the crew and airline agents differ from Chowdhury's.
Of course they do.
Absolutely. WestJet would like to clarify that there were 2 children and we were not requiring the infant to wear a mask, but did require the other child who is over the age of 2 to wear one, says WestJet spokesperson Lauren Stewart in an email. Right? So WestJet has a zero tolerance mask adherence policy to comply with a Transport Canada regulation, making it mandatory for all travelers aged 2 and over to wear protective face coverings while on flights. Right? Chowdhury said he was disappointed in the airline's response and definitely would love an apology.
They better goddamn apologize.
You know, there are other videos that are out there.
Disappointed in them.
Right, which shows countering arguments. And actually proof that the fact that the older daughter, the 3-year-old one, was wearing a mask at the time of the incident, right? It's just interesting with respect to regards to how far, and by means, you know what, like...
going now. This is terrible.
Yeah, definitely, right? Unreal. So in an updated statement provided on Wednesday, WestJet clarified the reason for the flight cancellation, stating again that its staff was asking the parents to mask the older child. They continued to quote here, "Our crew requested the presence of authorities after the guests refused to comply with Transport Canada's interim order and subsequently refused to deplane the aircraft."
So on call police? Really? Okay.
Right. Due to the rapid escalation of the situation on board, our crew felt uncomfortable to operate, and the flight was subsequently canceled.
Because a 19-month-old wasn't wearing a mask. The crew was uncomfortable to operate. Was it that you were uncomfortable because the child wasn't wearing a mask, or could there be something else?
Yes, the whole family.
The whole family was wearing a mask,
wearing
just
a
not the
mask.
19-month-old.
Yes, that's at the right. As the interview, Chowdhury, of course, you know, Safwan, he does explain the fact that, hey, you know, they had asked earlier if, in fact, their older daughter can continue to eat. I think she was eating something, either drinking, one of the two, but they said no. So, okay, no problem, bam. So they put a mask on it, right? And then afterwards, of course, that's what led towards the youngest one, the 19-month-old, and the whole escalation started, right? Which was, yeah, absolutely, right? Chowdhury, my friend, Safwan Chowdhury, so we continue to state here that we were surprised to learn that our 19-month-old daughter needed to be wearing a mask, adding that he didn't realize until later that the child wasn't required to mask under Transport Canada rules.
So she wasn't even required to, but they have to call police. Let's follow this.
He said he and his wife tried to force a mask on their youngest daughter's face to no avail. Of course, being desperate to get home, we, despite there not being such a policy, opted to comply until she was crying hysterically, with the crew watching over us until she threw up. At which point, they told us that we need to get off the plane.
So on a call police on basically a child, and she was like hysterical and throwing up, and they kicked them off the plane.
Well, that's what babies do. Under stress, the one or two things are going to happen. They're going to cry.
Yes, they cry hysterically until they throw up.
That's right. Right. Another passenger, Marian Nur, witnessed the entire interaction. She said at no point did Chowdhury or his wife raise their voices while interacting with flight attendants, and that that she saw the family doing their best to comply with instructions. Nur also said that the family was potentially being mistreated because of their race. So she started recording, and in fact, that was the recording that we
just saw. Yes.
Right, on the incident on her phone. She said a flight attendant first asked her to stop recording, then asked police to make Nur stop recording. When she refused, police told the flight attendant it was not their responsibility to stop Nur from filming. Right. WestJet said, due to privacy concerns, it currently can't share any more information regarding the incident.
I also heard that people were, because with this, since they landed the plane, or basically kept the plane on ground, they had to reschedule flights for everybody because that plane did not take off. So all the guests on there had to come off. And a lot of them were cussing Safwan and his family. Somewhere. It's all type of racial and it's Islamophobia and all type of foolishness. So
right. And also WestJet has now banned the family.
Oh, they can't
traveling.
go on WestJet ever again. And I think they were on a family travel pass. So that person as well has been penalized because of this. Do you see the fear that they're putting in people? Bun you, WestJet. I will never fly on you anyway. So bun you somewhere. Anything else about that, Dave?
No, that's about it. By means, those who
Support.
who know the Ahmadiyyan community, by means, reach out.
Oh,
Support.
let's talk about this. So that loophole. So they have now found a loophole against it. Well, they said they've closed the loophole when it comes to people saying you're not able to wear a mask. Now the only way is you have to have a medical document that says you are not required to wear a mask. If you are going to go on a flight, you have to wear a mask. That's it.
Yeah, and there's Safwan, of course, with his 2 daughters.
Look at B.A.B.
Yeah.
Of course she's going to cry, guy. I cry putting on a mask. I'm 41 years old. I don't throw up, but I cry. I'm pissed. Anyways, there's more happening. Just, what I've really learned with all of this? Like the coronavirus. No, it's not the coronavirus. COVID-19 has almost like sifted and brought all the shit floating to the top because there's just so much foolishness going on. So I received an email yesterday. There's actually a class action suit being commenced against Camilla Care. So and this is important because there's a lot of Caribbean actually personal support workers and people who work in this industry. So we have to pay attention here. Thomson Rogers has issued a class action proceeding claim $25 million on behalf of residents of Camilla Care communities and their families. So Thomson Rogers has issued a class action proceeding claiming $25 million, not $25. That's not nearly enough. Now, they are part of a bigger conglomerate called Sienna Senior Living Incorporated.
Okay.
A lot of people have heard about them. And they're located in Mississauga, Ontario. At least 68 residents at Camilla Care have died as a result of contacting COVID-19 and other related diseases. So I'm glad that they put that in there, that there was other things that were happening. It's not just COVID-19, the coronavirus. One of the representative plaintiffs is Marin Devag. I may not say your last name right. I do apologize. So it's Divan Hegi?
Beggy.
My eyes are bad. I should be wearing my glasses.
One of the two?
So Mehran's mother, Mary, I guess you could say that, was a resident at Camilla Care, and she contracted COVID-19 while residing in a shared bedroom with 3 other residents at Camilla Care and died on May 28, 2020. So Miran represents family members of the victims who have lost loved ones without given the opportunity to say goodbye. And that's something actually, I shouldn't talk about it, but that's something that we spoke about today. I had an interview today. We talked about the fact that there's a lot of people who are afraid to go to the hospital because they'll go in and then never come out. Never see their family members again, and families are kept from seeing their loved ones. So this is all part of what's happening. So it's alleged that the following Ontario's declaration of a state of emergency on March 17, 2020, Camilla Care actually failed to implement screening measures of its staff and basic social distancing practices, including the separation of infected and non-infected residents. It is alleged that during this period, there were severe understaffing at Camilla Care and a failure to provide basic personal protective equipment to Camilla Care staff. On May 27, 2020, the Government of Ontario appointed Trillium Health Partners as the interim managers of Camilla Care. In their initial report, released on June 15th, Trillium Partners made the following observations at Camilla Care during the period of April 22nd, 2020 to June 11th. COVID positive residents said COVID negative residents were also sharing the same room. There was a lack of signage and inaccurate signage to clearly show which residents were COVID positive versus negative. Staff not consistently properly using PPE. Staff observed wearing garbage bags over their clothing and on their feet as PPE. Some of the PPE was locked away and not always accessible to staff. Cockroaches were observed in the building, and due to significant understaffing at times, staff reported that they did not have the time to provide the basic care to residents. So that's toileting, feeding, dressing. They could not complete housekeeping tasks and or had difficulty getting meals prepared. So you're telling me that people in this residence were starving, not being changed, not being bathed?
That's exactly what was taking place.
So on June 7th, 2020, the Globe and Mail published an article documenting allegations by a member of Trillium Health Partners team deployed to Camilla Care who remained anonymous. And the allegations included observations of Camilla Care staff abusing residents, including incidents of staff hitting residents, forced feeding, and verbal abuse. The Peel Regional Police was actually called in on this because of what they heard was happening.
Okay.
So this is the fifth action Thomas Rogers has advanced on behalf of the residents of a long-term care here in Ontario. So Ontario, this has been happening. It's not just Camilla Care. This is something that's happening across Ontario. And it's the fourth action against a Sienna senior living home. Guys, something you guys need to be looking into. The observations of complete neglect and abuse documented by Trillium Health Partners and the anonymous employee at Camilla Care are appalling and unacceptable. Our vulnerable seniors deserve to be treated with the utmost respect and care. And this was said by Stephen Berman, a partner involved in the class action suit.
Senior abuse is a thing that's been taking place, for quite
a
some
long time.
Especially in these these residencies, especially when we do the fact that we don't get a chance to go and control, what's taking place.
Who's watching your parents,
right?
And who's taking care of them?
And I can't even fathom, guys, the costs, that are incurred. But while seniors have to be there,
it's expensive.
Right?
My grandma was in one, so I remember.
Right. So
it's expensive.
It's just sad. It just an outright display, guys, of where we are in a society right now, right?
Like I said, Corona, brought all this stuff to the top. Some things that were kept hidden, even though, I didn't know there was 4 allegations against the Sienna place. I don't even know how they're still in business if they've 4 class action suits against them. I don't know what's happening there. But anyhow, when we come back, we're going to be talking about some different things. So there's new surveillance cameras that police will have on their head that can actually detect if you have a fever. Let's talk about that a little bit. And they're actually mass producing these globally. And we have another big thing that's happening. So for everyone who's like, let's get a virus so we can get back to normal. Pause. AstraZeneca actually halted their COVID-19 vaccine trials because there's been a little bit of a mishap. We'll talk about that soon on A Better Tomorrow.
In terms of my journey began because of the fact that I created a massive multimedia platform, which is very well known. You might have heard of Dancing with Stars, Strictly Come Dancing, You Are What You Eat, 10 Years Younger. Now, there's a lot of controversy behind those shows because I'm the creator of those shows and I had a massive case, and that really was my awakening into the main stage that we're seeing now. Yeah. They've been pushing social distancing in a huge way, but what people don't understand is the reason that they are socially distancing people is so that the cameras can actually be able to fix and build profile on everybody. And the reason why we are at such a critical time where we need everybody to be reporting this is because they are marching in using these draconian laws and measures to usher in what will be Nazi Germany, slavery 2.0.
Welcome to the show. Thank you for taking your
Good
Friday.
to be here.
The first thing every totalitarian regime does, along with confiscation and mutilation of reality, is confiscation of history and confiscation of culture.
Dave, why are you so angry, Dave?
Really? Do you think I'm angry?
You sounded a little bit angry before we came in. Welcome back, everybody, to A Better Tomorrow.
Hush, hush,
If
hush.
you're just joining us, definitely want to remind you guys, if you find this information valuable, please definitely share this out if you think that there's someone else who might find this information valuable, even if you don't. And comment. We want to hear from you guys. We want to hear from everyone about some of this information. And if you have any thoughts about some of this information, please share. We want to hear it from you guys. All right, let's talk about this helmet for policemen.
Yeah, kind of like RoboCop stuff, right? So police in China, Dubai, and Italy are using these surveillance helmets to scan people for COVID-19 fever as they walk past. And
What if I'm just hot?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
Does it mean I have something wrong with me? It has to be corona?
So anyways, KCN901 smart helmet is equipped with an ARM processor, an augmented reality display screen, an infrared camera, and a visible light camera. According to device speculation seen by Business Insider, the wearer can detect the temperature to within 0.3 degrees Celsius of passers-by within around 2 meters.
I feel so intruded on. Oh my God.
RoboCop, I tell you,
Oh
man.
my Lord.
A law enforcement officer wearing the helmet could do any of the following. So it can measure the temperature of a specific individual, measure the temperatures of people passing by in larger crowds, scan a person's QR code for personal data, recognize license plates, spot people in the dark,
Damn it.
or recognize people using facial recognition.
Now, why would they want to do that?
Any information captured is stored on the helmet itself, says the company.
I don't like how you're ignoring my questions, Dave.
No, you didn't propose the question to me. I believe you posted out there.
Okay.
All right, so according to KC Wearables Global Chief, Dr. Ji Guyo,
You said it wrong.
well, probably, more than 1,000 helmets are already in use across China.
Wow.
One unnamed country, she said, has ordered hundreds of helmets, and more international deals are coming. The helmets cost anywhere between $5,000 to $7,000 per unit.
You know what is interesting? Like, I almost feel now that coronavirus has to continue because people are making millions of dollars off of this. It's almost like it's planned. Just saying. There's so much money being made. Like, they just pumped out all these units. If the coronavirus is just say was supposed to be dead or could have been dead, isn't this a complete waste of money? Like, why are police people taking my temperature? You're not a doctor. You're a policeman.
She added that customers put in early orders for samples, tested the devices out, and then put out larger orders. All right, the company says it has sent helmets to Italy's, and I hope I'm going to say this right, Carabinieri military police, and to the Dutch government for testing. Police are also using devices in Dubai. Now, Business Insider approached the Italian embassy and the Dutch government for comment. Neither responded, but an Italian user on Reddit spotted an armed guard sporting the helmets outside of Milan's cathedral this month. Right? Asked about the accuracy of the helmet's temperature scanning, Dr. Guillot said the following. Precision was approximately 96%, and the company that had conducted extensive tests. She added that the devices were flexible. In many places, they use fixed infrared cameras, but our helmets can be used with higher flexibility, adaptability, and it can be worn or put on a tripod. If the helmet on temperature scanning modes detects someone nearby with a fever, an alarm goes off.
Oh, Lord. So you're put on blast. Wow. Okay.
Right. So gives a warning to the user directly.
I wonder how that happens.
Oh, I don't.
You are hot. You are hot. Just saying. Sorry.
All right. So experts are skeptical about how helpful temperature scanning will be. Isn't that what they're doing right now anyways, with that gun and putting it to your forehead?
Don't put it at my forehead.
Professor Jones added the people could be running a temperature for a number of other reasons, such as going through menopause.
Right? Guy, you're just going to restrict me and say that there's something wrong with me because I'm going through menopause? Not me, I ain't going through menopause. But for the women who are, Lord have mercy.
Right? Who knows if it's just a hot day, right?
It could be you're just hot. Like it happens.
Boy. Right? That just leads to a whole bunch of other false positives, he said. Dr. Chris Wright, a medical doctor and expert in thermal imaging at the University of Exeter, has said that temperature scanning can be useful if done correctly. Of course he did, right? The most precise way of taking someone's temperature is via the inner corner of the eye, he said. Such devices, he argued, can be useful at airports, supermarkets, or even at entrance to doctors' surgeries as long as they use a high-resolution camera. A study published by the Euro Surveillance in February concluded airport screening is unlikely to detect a sufficient proportion of 2019 nCoV or coronavirus infected travelers to avoid entry of infected travelers. It will identify some high temperature cases, but sensitivity will be poor, Dr. Wright cautioned. Dr. Guo argued that some alterations to normal life is to be expected. I think we may need to make some short-term adjustments to our lives, not only to protect ourselves, but to protect other lives, she said.
Verbiage.
This isn't one person's responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility. Protect ourselves and protect others.
So, short-term adjustments.
Oh, my goodness.
Like what?
Wow.
Like getting a vaccine?
Oh, boy.
Not after I tell you guys this.
You know, it's wild. It's very wild, you know. As you've seen, of course, with the video at the beginning there, you know, how, of course, everybody who passed by in the infrared camera and you've seen the actual temperature there. Like, who'd have thought we actually get there right now? Right? Especially, you know, using this as an excuse. Jeez.
What other short-term adjustments do they want us to make? They've already stripped us of majority of our freedoms, except when it comes to injuring ourselves, like making alcohol very accessible.
Well, you know, I mean, you know how it goes. Everywhere now is, of course, is opening up these centers or so-called jailhouses.
Don't go there yet.
Right?
Let's just wait. Let's talk about some of these short-term adjustments that we have to make, like getting a vaccine so that we can leave our homes. So this whole vaccine talk is going on. Everyone's like, if we get a vaccine, we'll go back to normal. Yay. Okay, so you guys can yum on this a little bit. AstraZeneca actually halted their COVID-19 vaccine trials due to a safety issue. So the quote was, "This is a routine action which has to happen whenever there is a potentially unexplained illness in one of the trials, while it is investigated, ensuring we maintain the integrity of the trials." Let me tell you what all that means, with all this verbiage that they're using. Somebody got mashed up with their vaccine, and they need to figure out why, because they're going to try to correct it. But the fact that they've had to halt this should be of a little bit of worry for us, don't you think, Dave? Shouldn't we be a little bit concerned?
It's going to take 2 years. It's going to take approximately 2 years for them to go ahead and try to get some sort of right.
But they want to start pushing these out end of the year, going into 2021.
Yes, of course, because you know dollars talks.
But people, so AstraZeneca has paused clinical trials of its coronavirus vaccine to review safety data while it investigates a single event of illness among a person enrolled in one of its studies. AstraZeneca did not offer any details on the, let me tell you how they're pushing out this single event, okay? They're making it very bold. But STAT reported Tuesday that a participant in the company's UK trial developed a suspected serious adverse reaction. In a second statement, the company clarified that it had made the call to pause the trials while an independent committee reviewed safety data. So why does this matter? This is the first report of potentially serious safety issues emerging from the handful of coronavirus vaccines now in late-stage trials. So this is happening in late-stage trials. So these are the trials that happen just before they push it out to us. And there's been someone, they're saying it's only one, but for someone to step in and make such a call to say, we got to stop this, I don't think just one person is going to make, that to me doesn't even make sense. When you're doing some type of trial like this, I don't know if one's enough. Maybe it is. I am not a scientist, nor am I a doctor, so I can't tell you that for sure. But it doesn't make sense to me that only one illness would cause them to have to shut down everything.
Yes, they would have to. And I'm happy they did.
Well, I'm glad they did too. But first of all, it shouldn't even be happening. But you know what I'm trying to say. You know what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so AstraZeneca is running phase 3 trials in the US, the UK, Brazil, and South Africa to determine whether the vaccine is safe and effective. These studies are now on hold while the company investigates a potential safety issue. The US trial officially began on August 31st and hopes to enroll 30,000 people while the others began this summer. So what's next? So the company is still working to complete enrollment in the trials. Would you really enroll yourself for this? Wow. More than 11,000 people have enrolled in the UK. Apparently people are. Now I wonder how much of this is forced enrollment and actual people really enrolling because they want to. The UK, Brazil, and South Africa studies began around mid-August. One of the spokespeople from Oxford University, I guess, gave the report on this. So for all my people who are like, vaccines, back to normal. Is it worth your life? Is it? Remember, some of these things need to be tested 15 to 20 years. And they're trying to push this out in 14 months. Less. So you guys can take your chance on the vaccine. When we come back, we're going to stay on the vaccine topic because vaccine-derived polio is actually spread. So there was an announcement that Africa was free of polio, the wild virus, due to these vaccines. But now the vaccine has caused polio to spread. And the WHO is so proud of themselves. And we need to shut that shit down. But we'll talk about it in a minute. And then Quebec, guys, everything is so close to home. It's happening. It happened in Australia. We spoke about this happening in Australia. And you just brought this up. They actually are starting to set up detention centers for people who don't comply with the coronavirus rules.
Concentration camps.
Concentration camps. Sounds a lot like. We'll see you guys soon on A Better Tomorrow. Welcome to the show. Thank you for taking your
Good
Friday.
to be here.
The first thing every totalitarian regime does, along with confiscation and mutilation of reality, is confiscation of history and confiscation of culture.
In terms of my journey began because of the fact that I created a massive multimedia platform which is very well known. You might have heard of Dancing with Stars, Strictly Come Dancing, You Are What You Eat, 10 years younger. Now there's a lot of controversy behind those shows because I'm the creator of those shows and I had a massive case, and that really was my awakening into the main stage that we're seeing now. They've been pushing social distancing
Yes.
in a huge way. But what people don't understand is the reason that they are socially distancing people is so that the cameras can actually be able to fix and build profile on everybody. And the reason why we are at such a critical time where we need everybody to be reporting this is because they are marching in using these draconian laws and measures to usher in what will be Nazi Germany slavery 2.0.
Today, we come together to rejoice over an historic public health success, the certification of wild polio virus eradication in the African region. Since 1996, almost 9 billion polio vaccines have been delivered in Africa. Up to 1.8 million cases of wild polio have been averted, and up to 180,000 lives have been saved. The COVID-19 pandemic is once again demonstrating that polio staff are an essential public health workforce that can be quickly mobilized to serve the most vulnerable communities. Local health workers are the backbone of the response, but we're pleased that polio workers from WHO, UNICEF, the Polio Stop Program, and CDC have been able to support the response to COVID-19 in 36 African countries. The end of wild polio in Africa is a great day, but as we all know, it's not the end of polio. 16 countries still face outbreaks of vaccine-derived poliovirus, and we have a hard road ahead to eradicate wild poliovirus from Afghanistan and Pakistan. As long as polio persists anywhere, it's a threat everywhere. A future without polio may have once seemed impossible. But in the words of Nelson Mandela, when people are determined, they can overcome anything.
Tio.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to A Better Tomorrow. So, I don't even know what to say about that, man. To be honest with you, like, I want to cuss him on a real tip. Like, just tell him about all his parts. But, you know. So as you guys can see, a new polio outbreak in Sudan has been linked to the oh my God, so helpful oral polio vaccine that uses a weakened form of the virus. So news of the outbreak comes a week after the World Health Organization announced that wild polio had been eradicated in Africa. So in a statement on the new cases, here we go, the WHO said 2 children in Sudan, one from South Darfur state and the other from Gadaref state, close to the border with Ethiopia and Eritrea, were paralyzed in March and April. Both had been recently vaccinated against polio. So even that, I'm not too sure how that happened. So we're going back on this vaccination talk, guy. Like, clearly the vaccination did not work. The WHO said initial outbreak investigations showed the cases were linked to a continuing vaccine-deprived outbreak. So now they're trying to push it off and saying that it's continuing from a vaccine-derived outbreak in Chad that was first detected last year and is now spreading into Chad and the Cameroon. So at issue is the fact that the oral polio vaccine, preferred in some places because of its ease of delivery and the lack of need for sterile syringes, uses an attenuated, did I say it right? I did, eh? Or weakened version of the polio virus. When a child receives the oral vaccine, the weakened virus replicates in the intestines, encouraging the production of antibodies, and can be present in excretions, I guess? Excreta. In an area where there are high enough levels of immunity in the population, this usually does not present a problem, even if sanitation is poor. But areas where there is poor sanitation and a lack of general immunization, the virus can survive and circulate for months, mutating over time until it poses the same risks of paralysis causing disease as wild polio. So you're telling me they didn't think about this before they pushed this out there? Was this not a thought? Or did they even care? And these are the things we have to really look at, guys. Like, do they care about our lives, really, if they're pushing out these vaccines that clearly have not been tested long enough? Because if they were, they would have known this was going to happen. So, oh boy. The use of oral polio vaccine was discontinued, and this is the part that's scary. It was discontinued in the UK in 2004 and the US in 2000. And the UN agency advised that the use of oral vaccine should be discontinued after polio is judged to be eradicated because of the risk of this vaccine-derived outbreak. So they were warned. And in 2004, they stopped using it in the UK. And in the States, they stopped using it in 2000, yet they brought this to Africa. Why? These are the questions I need people to be really asking. Why is this okay? If it's not good enough for certain people, why are they going to be giving it to other people? Okay. Genetic sequencing of the virus involved in the Sudan cases confirmed that they were linked to the outbreak in Chad. Of course, because this is the WHO talking. They warned on Monday that the risk of further spread of vaccine-deprived or derived polio across Central Africa and the Horn of Africa was high, noting the large-scale population movements in that region. I have something to say to that idiot who heads up WHO. When you are killing thousands of our people on the continent, please do not utter Mandela's name out of your mouth or quote him. Because I guarantee if he was alive, he would not be okay with what is happening right now in Africa. So please do not ever quote anyone who has any greatness attached to them, because you cannot associate at all. Come at me. Next. Sorry, I wish I could talk to him.
All right, so in Quebec, they have now announced that they can detain citizens at COVID-19 isolation facilities. It is reported that authorities in Quebec City, Canada, intend to isolate unruly citizens in a COVID-19 facility.
I'd be locked up right now.
Though the precise location is not unknown. Dr. Jacques Girard, leader of the Quebec City Public Health Authority, which we have there up right now on screen, stated during a press conference that a number of customers at a bar were ordered to wait for the results from their COVID-19 tests, but decided to leave the premises before the results came back.
Yeah, bone you guys.
Oh, jeez.
I'd leave too.
Now, this is what Girard claims to have led them to be taken forcibly and placed in, of course, in an isolated state.
So they took people from their homes.
Yes. If you're already taking a test and you walked away, they're going to come find you. We may isolate someone for 14 days, Girard noted during the press conference. And it is what we did this morning. Forced a person to cooperate with the investigation, and police cooperation was exceptional. Girard went on to say that if a person is told to stay in isolation, public health officials have the duty to go to their home and force this person to comply.
Force.
And if they do not comply, the state is permitted to pick them up and force them to adhere. Girard said that it is in a prison. Do you feel like you are in a prison? Because that's it. Often it is what we do. It is a location. We at the CIUSS, which is a government agency in Quebec, have the power to provide preventative isolations. It's happening. Finally, it is a much easier provision than when someone is not cooperating, and becomes more difficult. Right, Girard asked if these people were under watch, to which he answered in the affirmative. When we pressed on where these people were being held, Girard stated, it is not at home, it depends on the person, because we've had people isolated at home. And then we saw that person was not at home. So we went to their home and then told them, we're isolating you where we want you to be.
You hear them the words there?
Of course, right? It comes on the heels, of course, of what was announced earlier this morning, right? That Mayor John Tory, right, and the federal government has now announced that it will fund a $14 million facility in Toronto for people who have COVID-19 and who cannot isolate at home. right? The Star has just reported this article. The fact that I'm just going to read a little more of it, I should say, before, of course, we jump into commercial. The isolation site has been developed and will be operated by Toronto Public Health. It is funded for a year of operations. It can house 140 people at a time who can isolate for a period of 14 days or longer, if needed. Right, so it's very interesting in regards to, like how we've reported before that what's taking place, for instance, now in Australia, right, in New Zealand, some places in China, right, slowly making its way here. It's not by chance, of course, that both Quebec and Ontario premiers had a meeting, right, and of course we've now seen their cases rise, right. So by means, things are happening, and it's not happening by coincidence, family. We've told you already, lockstep.
I don't want to listen. It's all right. Can't come out of your house and you're crying about it. We told you so. Remember that. And we'll play this video and I'll take this clip and say, I told you so. You should have listened. All right. I'm petty like that. I can be. Sorry. So when we come back in our last segment, people might find this a little bit interesting. If anyone's ever watched Dark Mirror, there's an episode, I think it might be the first one, that talks about a social credit score. And this is basically when you get points for being good, like we're in kindergarten. And if you're good, you get to do things. If you're bad, you don't get to do things. So we have that, and then we have just something more close to home. Now, of course, we know that the Toronto Film Festival is coming up.
Oh, yes.
And they've changed their rules. At first, they were saying that you didn't have to wear a mask if you're seated, and now they're complying and saying you have to wear a mask in your seat.
I will not acquiesce.
I refuse. Bon TTIFF anyways. I've never gone and I'm not interested. So, but some of you might be, so you may want to hear this news. We'll see you soon on A Better Tomorrow. Welcome to the show. Thank you for taking your Friday.
Good to be here.
The first thing every totalitarian regime does, along with confiscation and mutilation of reality, is confiscation of history and confiscation of culture.
In terms of my journey began because of the fact that I created a massive multimedia platform, which is very well known. You might have heard of Dancing with Stars, Strictly Come Dancing, You Are What You Eat, 10 years younger. Now, there's a lot of controversy behind those shows because I'm the creator of those shows and I had a massive case, and that really was my awakening into the main stage that we're seeing now. Yeah. They've been pushing social distancing in a huge way, but what people don't understand is the reason that they are socially distancing people is so that the cameras can actually be able to fix and build profile on everybody. And the reason why we are at such a critical time where we need everybody to be reporting this is because they are marching in using these draconian laws and measures to usher in what will be Nazi Germany, slavery 2.0.
Everywhere she goes, Oh Young Hallyu is followed. What she buys, how she behaves, is tracked and scored to show how responsible and trustworthy she is. It's called the social credit system, and in one version now being tested, a person's reputation is scored on a scale of 350 to 950. And Hao-yu, with a good score of 752, is okay with it. In fact, most people are.
It's a mechanism pushes you to become a better citizen.
It's big data meets Big Brother, expanding how the government monitors, understands, and ultimately controls its 1.4 billion citizens. Thanks to advances in artificial intelligence and facial recognition, and a web of more than 200 million surveillance cameras.
Are people bothered by privacy concerns?
We think a lot of cameras keep the safety is really good. We can accept it.
Companies are experimenting with the algorithms to help the government create the new national social credit system. The government also has pilot projects. In one, citizens are required to do hours of unpaid work to get benefits. And scores are docked for things like littering, a messy yard, gossip, even jaywalking. Video of offenders is shown on the local news. And information collectors like Zhou Ai-ni are paid to report on their neighbors. Her quota, 10 entries a month. Like the man who cares.
Wow. We were just discussing and laughing at the fact that Dave and I, well, Dave would have more points than me because he's not as rebellious as I am.
I wouldn't have any points.
I would have 20 points. Maybe. That's just because of the food bank. That would be it. Every other rule I break. Okay, go ahead.
All right. So new COVID surveillance system is being used for a totalitarian social monitoring are being realized in China.
And snitches are getting paid.
So the local government in China's Jiangsu province has launched a new social control system that combines the CCP's health code program with the regime's social credit system to create what they are calling a civilization code. The new system ranks each citizen via a civilization score and then places him or her in a category, which determines whether they get priority access to services or are punished and restricted. The new system represents an expansion of the social credit score and is being initially rolled out in the city of Suzhou.
Wow, that was really wrong.
Maybe, but who knows? Right? And will apply to everyone over the age of 18. The code has triggered a heated debate over its standard for criteria and possibly abuse for power. Right, this system, known as the Civilization Code, is composed of a civil transport index, a volunteer index, and as well as other indicators. The Civil Transport Index is linked to road manners such as traffic violation records, voluntary traffic duty participations, while the Volunteer Index is measured by the degrees of involvement in voluntary work, which the local authority says aims to help strengthen awareness of social responsibilities and duty. Some criticize it for infringing on human rights by attempting to classify people through unquantifiable standards. Responding to public concerns, a local official reported that the application of the Civilization Code is still in the trial phase. Based on voluntary principles, the new measure advocates and encourages good behaviors, and there will be no consequence for loss of points. Different from the credit scoring system, which has conducted trials and carefully designed to ensure people's daily life would not get disrupted, the Civilization Code appears to have rushed to conclusions without meticulous consideration. Citing the Civilization Code similarly to Suzhou credit system issued in 2018, Nangfang Metropolis Daily quoted Deputy Chief of the National Development and Reform Commission, Lian Weilang, as saying low credit scores cannot be used to ban citizens from enjoying basic public services and their rights prescribed by law.
They always say that they're not going to do this and not going to do that, and then it always changes. So.
It is unlikely that such a code can be applied nationwide. Liu added, lawmakers need to further analyze the consequences brought by the policy's application before promoting it nationwide.
Happening. That's happening.
Right.
That's happening.
Oh, man.
That is happening.
You know, there was one video that I seen where actually a gentleman was actually affected and had apparently a low social credit score, right?
Bad.
And couldn't do anything cyberly. Couldn't travel, right? Couldn't purchase certain things, right? By means, it's, wow. Oh, man.
Guys, this is the world we're in right now. We got to pay attention because, again, there are things happening. They do these little tests in different parts of the world.
How it's accepted there, slowly it'll trickle here.
It's going to trickle. So remember, this concentration, this idea of a concentration camp was in, where was it again? Sweden? Was it Sweden or where was it again? And now it's moved over here. And we just talked about that 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, New Zealand.
So it was brought up there in
New
Australia.
Zealand.
It seemed like we're like, oh, no, it's not happening here. But Tori just said, bam, Australia in a Toronto. So it's happening. So for those who are going to get to go to the Toronto Film Festival, this might be your last hurrah. So you may want to get out there. But if you're going, you have to wear a mask. So they will now require fest goers to wear mask coverings during all in-person movie viewings at the Bell Lightbox Multiplex. So fest organizers cited a surge in the new COVID-19 cases in Ontario, and they are using that to make this U-turn in their policy. Because earlier they were saying people didn't have to wear masks, but now they're saying you have to wear masks while staying in-seated during a movie. So this is from them, due to recent public health reports indicating that there has been an increase in COVID cases in the GTA, we have made the decision that for the safety, comfort, and peace of mind of our audiences, TIFF Bell Lightbox will close its concession stands, thereby eliminating a point of contact for patrons. This is the festival said in a statement last Tuesday. So no food, no beverages are going to be consumed. TIFF will require the audience members' masks to remain in place for the entire time they are watching a movie. And the festival's reversal brings Toronto in line with the Venice Film Festival, and additionally with major U.S. cinema chains that have mandated face masks during movie screenings, except when eating, sipping drinks to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Y'all can go on if you want to. I'm just letting you know we got to wear a mask. So now they're cutting up. So they're taking the joy of going to a movie is eating popcorn and drinking pop or a beer or a glass of wine, depending on if you go to VIP like Dave and I do. But that's done now because you have to wear a mask, and you can't wear a mask and eat because that's been the whole thing. It's like how you can wear a mask and eat. Well, now they're saying there's no concession, so no, there's no need for you to eat. Just go with your dry up self to the movie, drink all the liquids you can before, and sit there with a face covering on your face for 2 hours, breathing in your own carbon dioxide. Great for flu season. So you guys, I don't know what to say. I hope.
I don't even know why they still have these festivals, especially in this time. Like, how does it help?
Because it's bringing money to their pocket. That's how it helps. That's what it always is.
I tell you, they're still losing out.
Anyways, guys, definitely want to hear from you again. Please don't forget, like, dislike. It's up to you. You can have your opinion. Just have an opinion. Definitely share this out. And don't forget to comment. Leave your thoughts with us. And, of course, we want to thank the community members who continue to share stories like this with us. It really allows us to see that there are people paying attention. You guys have a wonderful Friday. Dave, anything else to say to our beautiful people?
Protect your babies.
Oh, always.
Protect your babies.
Pedophilia is still real. Remember, that's legal. Last week's show. 10 years, just so you guys know. Have a wonderful day, guys. We'll see you next week on A Better Tomorrow. Bye. Welcome to the show. Thank you for taking your Friday.
Good to be here.
The first thing every totalitarian regime does, along with confiscation and mutilation of reality, is confiscation of history and confiscation of culture.